Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of 18-year-old Indigenous Holly Ann Painter, who disappeared on the evening of June 26, 1995. She had been living by herself for about a year in a corner house on Dawes Road north of Danforth Avenue in East York, and by June 1995 she was hired as a summer worker at Save the Rouge Valley System, which is a local environmental group, after completing her 6-month co-op course there. She was about to start a rock climbing course and she wanted to buy some shoes for that course. So on June 26th, she called her mother Linda Painter at 7 p.m., asking her for a ride to the SRVS office on McCown Road to pick up her bank card. She wanted to get the shoes that evening, but then later she said she no longer needed a lift. According to authorities, she was driven to the SRVS office by a male friend by the name of Stephen Warner. When they returned to her home later, they had a female friend with them, Susan Livingston. Stephen told the police later that there was an alleged argument in the basement and Holly struck Susan. Steve then alleged that they were on their way to Holly's parents' house near Midland and St. Clair Avenue when he stopped his Bronco at a red light and Holly jumped out of the vehicle and disappeared. There were a few signs of life, quote-unquote, from Holly after that. A few days after she disappeared, a note appeared on the Painter's front door, which roughly said, "I've had enough, don't try to find me," according to her father, Frank Painter, who also added that the writing was shaky and he doesn't believe that it was actually Holly's. Perhaps because of the note, she wasn't reported missing until a few weeks later. They found that her bank card had been used in Cheektowaga in New York shortly after she disappeared. Then Steve, who still remains a person of interest to this day, later admitted that he was the one who used it there. It doesn't say why he used it there, or whether he actually returned the card afterwards. Either way, authorities suspect that foul play is at work, and according to authorities, they had actually treated her case as a homicide starting in the 2000s, though they didn't report on that until 2022. They also say that they believe at least one person in the community has information regarding her disappearance who is refusing to cooperate with the authorities. Like I said, she's Indigenous, she has brown eyes, dark brown long wavy curly hair. Her teeth were described as excellent, as the braces she wore had only recently been removed. She was roughly 5 foot 6 inches, weighing about 119 pounds, with a slender build and a dark olive complexion. She is apparently nearsighted, and she wore 3 gold hoop earrings in each ear. She had fractured her left leg 8 years prior to her disappearance when she was 10 years old, which may still show on the bone, and she apparently has asthma. Those are all the identifying bits of information that I see here. And that is all the information that I have on the case in general. So I was asked to do a reading on this case using the tarot. And we're going to do that starting off with the Crow Tarot deck, which is already on the table. And for any further questions, moving on to the Urban Tarot deck, which is this one. So as per usual, I'm going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have about a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we start off pretty strong here with these first 3 cards, the 8 of Cups in reverse, the 4 of Cups in reverse, and the 6 of Wands upright. Now, 8 of Cups, unable to walk away because it's in reverse, so she may have wanted to distance herself from something. This may be shortly after the argument in the basement took place. But her choices were not a lot, her options were limited. Now, the claim by Stephen was that he was taking her to her parents' house. Not sure if that was true, obviously, but still. These first two cards at least feel somewhat emotional, like they're both cups cards, obviously, so there is some emotions there. It's a water card, but still, like, I can't walk away from something. My options aren't good. I need to get out of here. Like, that type of energy is what these two cards are showing, but they just can't really walk away from something. Like, they can go to a different location, but there's something that they cannot avoid leaving behind, or at least can't get rid of, something like that. Then we have the Six of Wands, which would normally be somebody hailed as a hero, which is an interesting combination over here with these first two. So there could be some flattery involved here, or some type of hero worship maybe. Like, maybe she's really thinking about, I need to go and see somebody whom I look up to. Maybe she did want to go to her parents' house. Maybe she really wanted to talk to her mother or her father or somebody who may be able to help her with this emotional stalemate that she found herself in. An alternative could be that this was a play by this King of Swords, which is very methodical, based on only really focusing on their own emotions here with the Knight of Cups in reverse. So maybe there was a plan here, a very well calculated one, based on meeting somebody's needs and possibly not anybody else's. Like a very selfish plan. Because next card that we have here is the World in reverse, which I tend to see in readings like this as somebody disappearing from the world, disappearing from view, which doesn't necessarily mean that they are already deceased here. It could also just be that they are now in a situation where nobody is going to see them beyond the last person who saw them, which in this case may have been Stephen, I don't know. But in any case, somebody has maybe suggested or just decided that they are now going to take her somewhere where other people do not know where she is. And on the next row we have the Queen of Cups upright next to the Emperor, and then we have the Five of Pentacles. All right, so Queen of Cups is usually somebody who's very well in touch with their emotions. I'm thinking this may be a reference to Holly. And then we have the Emperor over here, which is usually somebody who is supposed to be a authority figure, a father figure, maybe somebody who you should be able to trust, like law enforcement or something along those lines. So right after we see a card that suggests that she kind of disappears from view from the rest of the world, we see her trying to be emotionally connected and calming and that type of thing, next to an Emperor and the Five of Pentacles in reverse, which is more like we're losing something here. Somebody may have made a call to authority over her to get her to comply with whatever they have planned, and it was something that was going to be coming at the cost of herself. Either this is the transaction with the card, or something else happened that wasn't sort of a transactionary type of thing that she was at a loss after. Then we have the Five of Swords, but it's on its side, so there is a bit of a half-hearted argument here. Maybe her arguing half with the person that she's with and half with herself internally, like she's really confused in this situation. Maybe they're arguing with themselves. They're perhaps this is the mood they were in when they may have wrote that note that was on the door, even though the father thinks that it's not her handwriting. But this would be the type of situation that would lead to a shaky handwriting, I feel like, particularly after these other cards that we just had, where she might not be in her usual state of mind. And then we see a reversed Knight of Pentacles, which I think is actually of the perpetrator's side. I am assuming that she did not make it out of this trip, so I'm calling them the perpetrator. So we have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, Knight of Pentacles being very practical, sometimes also experienced with the sort of things that they're very well practiced in, or very practical about. It's also very much giving that dark horse feel, like literally there is a dark horse on here. Normally I don't really tend to focus too much on that, but right now I'm really getting dark horse, which is a reference to somebody doing things that nobody really thought that they would ever be capable of doing. Coming out of that left field is also a common way to express that. So maybe the perpetrator doesn't really strike anybody as a potential perpetrator, but the way that they're behaving in this situation right now, they are showing themselves to be capable of such things, whatever such things may be. Things that do not allow her to return home in any case. So I'm thinking at this point, she is possibly still alive and in the presence of the perpetrator. And they may be on the move. Let's grab the Urban Tarot deck to see what else we can get. Emperor again on its side this time. So whatever they have been lording over her is now becoming more and more clear that it's not a good suggestion. She may have initially had a suggestion made to her like, oh, let's just get out of here. Who cares about all this stuff? They had just had this argument with their friend, and maybe she was just in a mood where she just didn't want to have to deal with anything right now. And so the suggestion to go somewhere else initially may have sounded like a good idea, but then the truth became more readily available. Maybe the circumstances of this trip or whatever it is they were planning on doing became more clear, and she was not really on board with that. So now she's like, okay, this person over here now has certain level of control over me. Maybe they're the one with the car, maybe they're the one with the money, but they can't really run away from them right now. Holly can't. So it's kind of like you're seeing some dark clouds forming overhead, but you know that you can't hide anywhere. So it's like, okay, well, I hope this goes well. Like that type of vibes. Once again from this card. Let's see what else we can get. Six of Swords. All right, Six of Swords is indeed a card where people get taken to other locations, possibly a second or third location, or in any case, they are allowing the other person to determine what happens next, possibly by lying to them as well. But this card in particular has a snake on it and a bunch of swords pointing towards a heart. So maybe this is also a threat that's hanging overhead. Like, okay, well, if you don't do what I say, then this and that's going to happen. And you don't want that. Like that type of threat they may have been making to keep her compliant. Okay, we have a smaller stack here. That one. They're so much more difficult to shuffle when there's only a few of them. And that one. Okay. You. The moon in reverse. Okay, so we're now hiding things. She is possibly being hidden now, maybe kept in another location that is not known to many people, or perhaps an abandoned location where people don't go looking. And this is also where we lose a bunch of our resources. This could be where the card is stolen and the card is used, even though I don't think that she actually agreed to the use. But it looks as though we are definitely in another location where she is very much aware that she is hidden and in a very bad spot. One here and one here. Let's grab you first. Ace of Discs. All right, this is a new idea, new suggestion that is definitely not going to do her any good, because this is a continuous loss of her own resources, time, energy, whatever she may have had. And this may be a suggestion made by the perpetrator to, I guess, his own enrichment. We see the devil over here, which is also like a tying down through all sorts of different vices or means. I'm getting a vibe that maybe they tried trafficking her or something along those lines. Maybe they're not the ones directly doing the trafficking, but they may have dropped her off at a location where somebody would meet them who is into that type of thing. In any case, it seems as though she's definitely being hidden and like spirited away into some other life that she definitely did not want, and is something that is binding her, which is what this card is usually all about. Now this definitely looks like a drug dealer, so maybe there's also an element of that involved, but I think it's more so the shackles at the bottom there that are important in this case. You can kind of see them there. It's a little bit of a dark card, but you can see it at his foot. So something that is tying her down. Maybe she is being held by other people in certain locations to do things that she definitely does not want. That one's on the floor. The Empress in reverse. Okay, so there are definitely no people there to actually pay her much mind, don't really take care of her, she's not really taken care of. Maybe her needs aren't being met. I'm looking at the baby with the food in particular. The baby is very dependent on people to feed it. As you can see over there in the chair, it still is at that stage where it can't feed itself, etc. So maybe she is dependent on people to do things for her and they slack off in doing that, providing these basic needs. The Gourmet Chef or the Knight of Discs, and in this deck that makes him the King of Pentacles in reverse. Alright, so this is the more mature version of the Knight of Pentacles that we already had on the end over here. So this is more of, she's more like one of the dishes on the plates rather than being the chef in this case. And she is just something that they are processing. Like that's the vibe I'm getting from this card, particularly in this lineup. So again, not much thought and care given to her needs and things that she might want. Just an object or just a product, something like that. Okay, and then we have the Six of Pentacles in reverse. Also no charity given, absolutely nobody's looking out for her over there. And the Seven of Wands, Valor in reverse. Now normally this would be a card of protesting, people coming for your position as well, and you trying to defend it. But in reverse, I see that more as either people are so upset that she tends to get a lot of flack for no particular reason, or she is giving up in favor of being attacked over these things, like a broken spirit, like that. Okay, we have the Five of Cups called Disappointment. So really she can only focus on the negative in her situation, which is not surprising. There's chaos, there's a lot of things that have been bent and broken. A lot of melancholy as well, because of course there is that picture of, I'm guessing, family members or something like that. I don't know if she has a picture of her family on her, but I'm pretty sure she spent a lot of time thinking about the people back home. And she also feels like there's nothing much she can do. Let's see if and how this ended. Let's do like a couple more cards on that and then see if we can figure out if anything new is going to come up to light. This is Ace of Swords. Okay, Ace of Swords, new idea, new suggestion, maybe a new path to walk. Maybe she suddenly has some inspiration, even though we just kind of saw that she didn't really have much energy for that. But still, let's see what happens. Maybe somebody else got them some new inspiration. We have next card, Ten of Cups in reverse. All right, so not seeing much positivity here, even though we do have this Ace of Swords. Like maybe that's like something new, a new idea. And but this just seems to suggest a lot of unhappiness, maybe depression or something along those lines, which perfectly natural, of course. Maybe the new idea or suggestion isn't hers and it's something that she really, really doesn't want. Two of Wands. She also cannot really make her mind up to go anywhere else, or at least she can't travel anywhere. She can't go anywhere. She knows she doesn't have any options, so she's really feeling trapped here. This one kind of jumped but didn't actually land. So, oh, okay, next one. The very next card. The Lovers. Okay, maybe she's trying to form some type of alliance with somebody, or she is being told something that she needs to memorize, and it'll like according to them, hopefully prevent things from getting worse. There is a snake in the middle of that card. But for the sake of the heart at the bottom, she may be now told to think certain things, act certain ways. But yeah, she also cannot think of anything else. So not only can she not go anywhere, she also can't think of anything else. There's just one option. That's it. She has no choice but to sign up for whatever it is that these people are telling her she should be thinking and feeling. And she cannot go anywhere else. She's totally dependent on them. All right, a new suggestion with the Ace of Cups, a new connection perhaps. That's an interesting follow-up over here. Maybe somebody is laying a claim, perhaps. Or she's being switched to another group. I don't really know how that works. Possibly there are people being moved around occasionally. She cannot avoid that, people making such decisions. Eight of Pentacles, working very hard, very diligently on something, but not sure what yet. Maybe she's just trying to be as good as possible, hoping perhaps that that'll keep her safe. All right, let's see. These guys were already here. Then we have you two, and we have a card over here. The Moon. All right, things still hidden, maybe potentially coming to light, but we have here the King of Wands, who is acting in a very negative manner and has to make up his mind. Could be that she somehow drew attention from people that weren't part of the group, and the King of Wands is like, okay, I'm going to have to do something quickly about you because I cannot let that happen. I cannot let you reveal us, or your situation or whatever it is. So it may not have been the most immediate decision, because we do see here a Two of Pentacles, meaning they're like weighing options, like that type of thing. But the way that the King of Wands is in reverse does suggest to me that they do not want to let this slide. So they have to make a decision. Three of Cups, all right, maybe potentially pretending to be on board. And then we see the Ten of Swords. All right, Darks Before the Dawn. It could be that they are pretending to be good to her in that moment, like they're not mad, I'm just disappointed, like that type of thing. But then we have the actual result that leads to a lot of concern, which I'm guessing also with the drama of the card may suggest that the choice that they ultimately make is one that is causing a lot of concern. In any case, it looks as though she's even more pinned down than usual. But I'm going to move on to, if we're ever going to see any more resolution in this case, we're going to get more information. The case is still unsolved, so they should eventually get more information, I hope, with modern technology, etc. The Three of Wands in reverse. Okay, so we're not able to move much over here. The case is kind of locked down, I feel, with this Three of Wands. It is a fire truck trying to put out fire, so they are still trying very much, but it's not working too well. Well, they can't really move forward or backwards, which could also mean that they just don't have any more information to go on at the moment. Knight, or rather King of Cups in reverse. Someone is playing an emotional game here. Let's take a look what the other cards are. Right, so this King of Cups over here is very manipulative and also wants to keep people away from the fire. Doesn't want them to look at it. Like the fire that they're trying to put out over here is in the background here as well, going through the door behind these people, but they're just kind of ignoring it because this king is so charming, I guess, They're trying all different types of ways to keep people from looking at other stuff, like potentially poisoning their drinks or whatever. Not literally, but more like poisoning the well. So somebody is trying to keep people from looking in the right direction purposely. The other card we have here is Death, and then the Six of Cups. They're trying to postpone something from happening, because death is usually like ending a chapter and starting a new one. But it's in reverse, so I feel like they don't want something to close, which could also mean like a tarot moment, revelation, and now we have to move on to the next thing. They don't want the next thing. They want to keep that. They also want to keep some type of memory alive over here with this Six of Cups, which is kind of like a melancholy card. So there may be some type of personal memory attached to this. Could also be that somebody does not want to acknowledge that maybe she is deceased, because I'm looking at this card over here, and this person on the bed, aside from the fact that their entire ribcage appears to be empty, if you look at the card, their feet are also super pale, but they're still trying to do a heart transplant. So it's like they're trying to keep her alive, even though potentially they are aware that the truth, of course, is that she is long gone. So this may be somebody who already knows that, but wants to make it seem as though that's definitely not the case by going, oh, well, maybe we should look over here, maybe we should look over there, like trying to keep people to keep running after the next thing to see if they can find out more info on her. But meanwhile, they know that they're not going to find anything, like that type of thing. And because they have a personal investment in this case, that like this memory that they do not want to let go or don't want revealed. It could also just be that there's something in their past that they don't want in the limelight, and that is why they keep sending people on wild goose chases. Let's see what else we can get. The Dancer, on its side, Princess, or rather Page of Wands, and this card is a very risky looking character. This could be that we are, at least this person over here is blaming the victim, kind of like maybe saying like, oh, she always showed kind of risky behavior, and this is so what she would do, and she's probably just out there having a great time, and just coming up with all these excuses as to why this is totally her own idea, and how none of these theories that the police are coming up with, who are considering that it might be homicide, hold any merit or something like that, because she obviously did this to herself, or something went wrong and it's not really anybody's fault, blah blah blah. This kind of reminds me of how some people have a troubled life, and when something happens to them, people just go, well, you know, that's the type of person they were, like, yeah, what are you gonna do, like that type of thing. So maybe they are trying to do a little bit of character assassination on Holly in that regard, to try and get people to be less interested perhaps in the truth, or just to let it go. This one, the Seven of Swords. All right, so they may be feeling like this is a waste of time, or they're telling the police that it is a waste of time. The card itself is also called futility. Seven of Swords is a manipulation / betrayal type of thing. So they may be continuously trying to lie and confuse and distract people. Lie too, not just lie. That's a rather large stack, so we can't take all of them. Okay, those four. They spread out so nicely, we're going to take these four. All right, let's see. These will be the final cards then. We have the Magician in reverse. Somebody is not able to, I guess, deliver what they would like. They're not as good as they might like to think. Since the next card is the Four of Wands, and we have the Public Defender and Temperance over here. Wondering if this is the person themselves who is trying to distract everybody, being caught in their own game, with this Mage being in reverse. Like, they're trying all these different tactics. The Magician has capabilities that they can use all the different suits. So you see all sorts of different suits represented on the card as well. You got your cup, you got your pentacle, you got your sword and your wands and all that sort of thing. But he looks a little bit confused, and particularly because it's in reverse, he may actually be losing the grip on the situation. So maybe they are now, or at some points, unable to keep up the charade. And then we have here the Four of Wands, which is called completion. Normally it is a harmony card, a coming together card. And then the very next one that we have is the Queen of Wands, or also known as the Public Defender. So the Queen of Wands is somebody who's very strong-willed. She knows exactly what she wants, and in this case she shows up as a public defender. So it could be that they now have the case that they want in this situation, and now they're going to go after whoever this is in full force, and they're not stopping until they get to the goal that they had in mind. Then the last card that we have here is Temperance. And I'm thinking this is just a card to call for people to be patient, stay balanced, stay focused, stay grounded, like that type of thing. Eventually everything meets in the same point here in the middle. What's interesting about this card as well is that it has a stop and go sign going on, like both things are true at once. And maybe that it will feel like that for some time to come, like you have to run and stand still at the same time. But be patient, and then eventually there should be a outcome of some sorts, hopefully a good one, at least a just one. So that is what I'm seeing for Holly Painter. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a comment and a like. That really helps the channel along. If you want to subscribe, that's even more appreciated. In any case, I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.